Hello, my name is Rutledge. I just wanted to make a short video with you about being a personal advocate for yourself. Just share a few stories with you, things that I've gone through this week alone, this past few weeks alone, and why it's so important to be your own advocate because no one will speak up for you. No one will go the extra mile for you but you. And just don't let someone determine your voice, what your voice is, and how you use it. Okay, so here we go. Um, I was diagnosed with fibroids a few years ago, and the fibroids I had been dealing with for many years, but because I had my tubes tied, I feel like it's my personal feeling that my reproductive issues, my reproductive health was no longer really considered. It wasn't something that we were looking for. There was nothing to prevent because I actually had taken a step to not have children, to not have any more children, excuse me. Because after several miscarriages, my doctor told me, the last one, my health really plummeted, and he suggested I get my tubes tied just so that I could be the best mother that I could be for the children that I had, and not um, risk it all to have an additional child. I agreed, got the tube, got my tubes tied, excuse me, and then many years went by, but I had struggled with abdominal pain. I struggled with depression because I had the abdominal pain and it didn't seem like there was anything they could do. They prescribed me Vicodin. I was prescribed Vicodin from the time I was 16 years old because I always had very heavy cycles um, until I was about 30 years old. I had I could go anywhere and get a prescription for Vicodin, but I didn't take it. I never took it because I was afraid. I grew up in the say no to drugs, and and I knew I had this awareness that drugs could be very addictive, so I wouldn't take it. So most of the time, I dealt with the pain. It caused severe depression in me, and emotional issues, and problems in my relationship because it's hard, problems with relationships in general, because it's so difficult for people on the outside to see you going through something but not physically see um, anything wrong with you. So people begin to believe it's in your head, and then it becomes in your head because you have all these anxiety about being in social settings around people um, who are clearly annoyed about hearing about your pain, your unseen, undiagnosed pain and discomfort. So fast forward to when I was about 35, went in for stomach pain again, which I had been in over the years, and they'd always found something else to deal with. So at this time, I had just recently had a pap smear. It came back, had some issues, needed to do a biopsy on my cervix. Was going in to have the biopsy done, and the doctor placed her hand on my stomach as she was going to do the biopsy. And she said, "Whoa, what's that?" And I said, "My stomach was hard." And I said, "That's why I came in. I've been trying to say, my stomach gets hard and it hurts very often." She goes, "That's not normal. What we're going to do is order an ultrasound." I hadn't had an ultrasound in years. I'm not getting pregnant. Nobody does that. They don't do that when you're not trying to have a kid. So when they did the ultrasound, they saw my uterus at this time was the size of a 5-month pregnant person. So I had this big protruding belly, which I still kind of got. um, and I was pretty jacked up. So I had the hysterectomy. That was another very traumatizing thing to go through because even though I got my tubes tied, I always knew that I could get my tubes untied. Hysterectomy now meant nothing, never. And at this time, my marriage was coming to an end, and I'm thinking of life after that. I was already dealing with a lot of anxiety in my 30s because my children were getting older. I had my first son when I was 19, so around 32, 33. My boys are older and they're doing their own thing, and I really wanted another child. I think I was 31 when my granddaughter was born. So that really helped me a lot. My stepson had a baby, and that helped me a lot. She helped me a lot, and blocked a lot of things that I was going through. There were a lot of things that I needed to deal with my pain and with my discomfort, but I ignored them because she became priority. First, it was them. It was about them being the priority, them being the thing I needed to focus on, not how I was feeling or why I was hurting and why I couldn't have more children. Why, I didn't ask more. I just wanted to be what they needed me to be. Nothing wrong with that. Um, but you still have to consider yourself. So, um, then she came along and she became my new priority. But I still dealt with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of chronic pain. So fast forward to a few months ago. I've moved. I still struggled with depression. I still struggled with pain. After the hysterectomy, there was scarring. When they went in, it was a much bigger process than they had originally anticipated. The procedure took 7 hours instead of 5. Left me with bad scarring. I keloid because that's what I do. I scar badly, and so I have this huge keloid on the outside of my stomach, and it's a lot bigger than what I was told. I was told it was going to be a small thing, but it goes clear across the bottom of my belly, and it's a keloid. And so then I had to go through therapy for that probably the next year, because there was so much scar tissue on the inside, um, and I could hardly stand sometimes. Standing on my feet, it just hurt, and it still does. Still, honestly, does. That's probably why I transitioned into driving a bus. To be honest, I needed to be able to sit down. I knew that standing wasn't gonna work for me. If even cooking meals, sometimes standing up, it hurts. It literally feels like I'm being torn in half at the abdomen. Like it feels like I'm being pulled apart. And my husband just said something to me about it this morning, which is so funny. He says, I notice when you get up, you don't stand straight up. You get up and you crouch and you move. And then, you gradually bring yourself into an upright position. And I said, because it feels like I'm being ripped. I just don't say anything about it. I'm so tired of complaining. If you think about it, I've literally had, ever since I probably hit puberty at 12, I've had severe pain. And, at first it was endometriosis. Then it was fibroids. Then it was all these miscarriages. Then it was just, it wasn't fibroids too much later, but I had the miscarriages in the process of being, of having my children, before my first son, after him, just a lot, it's just been a lot. So, I lost my train of thought, but, yeah. So fast forward to a few weeks ago. I um I have been still dealing with the pain, and I'm in a new relationship. Wonderful man who supports me, loves me, treats me like I am gold. He is remarkable. And he said, babe, you've been really on me about a few health um, issues that I'm having. Very supportive, but I'm asking you to go and do the same. Get the things that you need done for yourself. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. I went in. Now I'm diagnosed with IBS after several tests, um, even a colonoscopy, which totally discovered something neither one of us planned for. When we did the testing, the colonoscopy, I believe the first test that we had was a CT scan. The CT scan found that my one remaining ovary has a cyst on it, which I've been having pain over here. But like I said, I'm used to pain. Ever since I've had the hysterectomy, the pain hasn't stopped. I just thought that was part of the process, and I just kind of ignored it. Or not even ignored it. I acknowledge it. I take ibuprofen a heck of a lot. Um, I just get tired of saying the same thing and feeling like no one hears me. So I just, it is what it is. I currently have, so the CT finds nothing wrong with me besides a cyst on my ovary. Okay, but I've had some serious stuff go on, which brought me in. So my doctor recommends I see a gastrologist. That was a Friday. I'm telling you, these people worked after hours for me. I left having my CT because it was emergency. I was rushed over there for a CT. I was done with that before we made it home. My doctor was calling me at 5:30 in the evening saying because she gave her personal cell phone to them to let her know so we know what was going on. She told me to call a gastrologist. I called the gastrologist on Monday. I was in his office on Tuesday. That next um, Monday, I was scheduled for a colonoscopy. In the colonoscopy, they found two polyps. Um, the polyps were not the reason why I was having the symptoms that I was having, or the pain or discomfort, but the polyps were precancerous. And my doctor said at the time, he said they look precancerous. We're going to go ahead with the steps that we were taking, and we're going to do the EDG, which was they put the scope down your throat, look into your belly. So he does that the next week. The next week, they find that I have inflammation in my stomach lining. When I come out of it, he says all we see is this inflammation in your stomach lining. But I really feel like your symptoms are saying IBS with diarrhea. I'm like, what is that? I tell my sister says, years ago, you took me to the doctor with you, and the doctor suggested you had that when they found out you have the diverticulitis. So I had a diverticulitis infection too. So I I don't remember the IBS thing coming up before, but I know that this is what I'm faced with now. And he says that stress and anxiety contribute greatly to IBS. It contributes to flare ups, it causes flare ups. And I've been going through a lot of transition and changes, moving to Georgia from Michigan, leaving my family, even leaving my children for a short while. My sons who were 18 and 16, and now I have my youngest son with me. That's good, it's great, but it has had some challenges. We've had some, we've had some growing and adjusting to do with that new situation. And so when he said stress and anxiety contribute to IBS, I was like, I know her. Okay. I know a girl who's been in dealing with stress and anxiety. I know a girl who's been dealing with stomach pain, abdominal pain since she was about 12 years old. And then it dawned on me. I got my period when I was 12. It was probably the worst summer of my life. My parents had just divorced. And I moved from Georgia to Michigan, and I got my period that same summer. Because I remember getting a phone call from my father saying, I know what happened to you, and he wanted me to talk about it, and I couldn't talk about it. For one, I am a girly girl, and I was absolutely mortified that he wanted to have this conversation with me. And, um, but we did, and you know, there were things that happened in my childhood before I got my cycle, which would have led for me to be an anxious person. After that, after that summer, I went to go stay with me and my sisters went to go visit our father. Things transpired, and we ended up being a permanent thing that we lived in Georgia with our father, now without our mother. Stress and anxiety, I knew about. Depression, I knew about. Then my father became ill, terminally ill, HIV positive, and I was his caregiver at 15. Stress and anxiety, I knew about. My father died 2 years later, 3 years later. It was about 2.5 years later. So I lived with him from 12, because I only was with my mom a summer. So I lived with him from 12 to 15. And I only lived with my mother from November to the summertime. So I must have got my cycle in the winter, sorry. Because it was November. It was Thanksgiving when he dropped us off, and in Michigan. And then it was the summer when we went to go visit him. And I never went to go see my mom again. I never saw her again until I was 15. So, yeah. Uh, I knew about stress and anxiety. I've known about stress and anxiety for a long time. And I've known about pain just as long. So I say that to say this: your physical health is directly related to your mental health, your mental, your mind. It can physically take you out if you don't find a way to deal with stressors, and issues. It can have a very physical impact on you. I am living proof of it. I have had, I've been diagnosed with endometriosis, fibroids, diverticulitis, IBS, um, Jesus, I had so many miscarriages, um, uh, depression. Uh, they even tried to say they thought I had bipolar disorder, um, and anxiety, severe anxiety. These things just didn't come to pass overnight. It was a series of events and a sequence of responses. And that's like my biggest thing right now. It's what I'm pushing to tell, I not just my children and remind myself, but it's that life happens. It just does. Crappy stuff, good stuff, it's all out here. But what we have control of is how we respond to it. And so that's why I'm pushing this whole be intentional. If you follow me on Facebook, you see I say many times, be intentional, be grateful. There are so many things that have happened to me over these past few weeks that I can see God's hand in my life like I've never noticed it before. And hear me when I say I've never noticed it before, because I believe, I know unequivocally, it's always been there. I just hadn't noticed it before like I noticed it now. You see, I had to meet, I had to leave Grand Rapids. I had to get away from everything I knew so that I could just lean on Him. Just lean on Him. In the quiet, calm moments, when I look back at my life, the times that I was doing the best, it was just me and Him. I didn't, I just called Him. I just looked for Him for support, looked to Him for the answer, and He guided me. And I didn't even know I was being guided at the time, but I can see it now. I moved here. I moved here, um, and my life just flipped, continued to flip until I was alone. Okay? Until I spent many times, many days, many nights in the house, my godfather's house. God bless him. He's an awesome man. That's a whole nother video. Okay. Um, he was my father's best friend before he passed on, and Jesus, there's just so much. There's just so much, and I would sit in that room by myself and I would cry for hours. And he'd be like, "You down there crying again?" You know, because everybody knows me, knows that I can be fun. I can be the life of the party. I can smile, especially when I go outside. My father used to tell me all the time when I was a little girl that you never let people see you sweat. And so I took that and interpreted that as you don't let people see what you're going through. And for years, that's how I was able to get by without people knowing so much about what was happening to me. My health was bad, but I could tell people were tired of hearing it. You know, more than I was tired of going through it, they were tired of hearing it. Okay? So I began to stop sharing it. I began to always have my hair cute, cut, short, tapered, neat. I was obsessed with my hair. And I saw myself going through that just recently when I was starting to have the stomach issues and I was having the test every week. For the past, in 2 weeks, I colored my hair 4 times because I'm on this natural kick, you know. So I don't have a process, but it's hard to manage down here in Georgia. I'm having a hard time getting used to the humidity and how to style my natural hair with it being so humid out here. Um, but the frustration of not being able to control or conceal because it was coming apart. I was feeling bad too often for it to be nothing. It was starting to be revealed my inner thing that I had been trying to hide for years, that my stomach is always up, my depression, my mood. Somebody has at work, they called me two braids. He says I have a different attitude when I have my hair plaited back in the two braids than when I have it all zhuzhed up, you know. He calls me fabulous on those days, and on the other days he calls me two braids. He saw me, he saw my truth, and it began to be noticed to me that everyone could see it. Even though I thought I was hiding it, you know, by being extra with my eyebrows always together. I mean, they're not really together right now, but you know, my makeup on. And I tell people all the time, the only time that Keisha has on makeup is when she doesn't feel good. If I got these eyebrows, honey, and my lip gloss popping, and this eyeliner, which I don't have none of that right now, it's because I'm okay. You know, if I have all that extra stuff on, that's because I'm hiding something. Something is wrong. Ask the girl, you know, does she need a hug? Because she probably do. But anyway, so I noticed that, and I was changing my hair like color 4 times in 2 weeks. No lie. You can ask my family. My husband and my son was both like, "Mom, it looks fine. Mom, you don't need, you know, babe, it's good. You don't need to do this." And I finally one day said, he went to the store to get me some stuff that I needed. Uh, and when he went to the store, I ran out to the store, got a dye, came back, dyed my hair, threw away all the product, and then um and then I combed my hair, started twisting it, preparing it to be combed or whatever. And then when he came in, we had been sitting around talking and having a good time laughing. And I said, "Babe, I gotta make a confession. Does my hair look different?" And he goes, "What did you do?" And I said, "I said I dyed it again. While you went to the store, I ran. I told him, you know, that's one thing about him. about this marriage, about this relationship, about a good marriage and a good relationship. He's created a space where I am comfortable saying who it is I am. My truth is my truth. And with him, he creates an environment where I know it's going to be received and received in love. And that even any criticism that he may have, anything that he says or does, I know he sincerely loves me, has thought about it, and has wanted to present it to me in the best and lightest way. And what else can I do with that? But I know that he loves me, and I know that he doesn't want me to be burdened with secrets and burdened with things that are going to hurt or harm me. I don't have to carry any of that stuff on my own. I don't have to carry it. I just need to let it out, let it go, and move on. I don't have to hold it. I don't have to hide it, and I love that. So I did break down and tell him like, let him color my hair. But it went back to me just really thinking about, man, how hard I've been on my own self, thinking I had to be or look like I wasn't in trouble. Having such a difficult time speaking up and saying my own truth, and my own truth was I am sick and I'm making myself sicker because I don't want you to know or to be burdened by my pain. My stomach has hurt me for years, and that's how it is when you aren't operating in your truth. Things begin to grow in you. I have these uh, lumps. I don't know if you can really, there it is. Lumps on my arms. They're all over my arms. I had a lump in my breast last year. Fibroids took over my stomach, my womb. A cyst sits on my ovary, and polyps developed in my colon. I'm 30 now. My doctor told me the other day that is you need to find out if this is in your family, because we don't order a colonoscopy for until you're 50. We don't recommend you get a colonoscopy until you're 50. See, this was weeks ago when I had that done. So now the labs are back, and it is precancerous. They were precancerous, but when he saw them, he removed them, and he said they were precancerous and they were large. My question, sincere question is your silence healing? Is your disobedience keeping you stuck? I heard from God it was time for me to leave Michigan. That wasn't where I needed to be. I needed to leave. I felt a pull and a tug. When I met my husband, it was a crazy time for me. I wasn't looking for a relationship, but I found a man, and a man of God, and I knew who he was. He told me plain, and God told me. He came to me and he told me plainly in a language I understood. I made changes immediately so that I could get myself in line with him. But I hadn't realized that I had already started setting myself on that path in 2014. I met my husband, we married very quickly, and it has been life changing. Life changing. I want to wake up every day, be better, do better. He pushes me to be myself, my authentic self. It's funny because he can be very conservative, mild mannered, and I am, hey, she ready, like I'm extra often. I saw him at work yesterday because we work together, and he was walking with his supervisor, and he was like, he tells the story like this. He says, the boss says, "Who's that lady saying hey to you all out?" He's like, "Yeah, the one that's over there with the Tiffany Haddish, all extra fabulous readiness. So, hey girl, hey y'all, how y'all doing?" He said because he had been trying to get my attention, but I hadn't noticed because I walk out on the yard like I am um I'm a celebrity. I drive a bus. So I walk out on the yard like I'm a celebrity. Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Hey, and he's like, "You walk out with all this extras," and he said, "I'm walking behind you saying, Keisha, Keisha." And I don't even notice. I'm not paying it any attention. And then somebody says, "There's your husband." And I turn around and I look, and he waves. And he said he told the guy, "Yeah, that's my wife." That was a very long way to tell you to be intentional with yourself, your own self. Not just in the things you do, but the way you protect and you guard yourself and the way you advocate for yourself. I'll be coming to you with many videos about being intentional. And I don't know why this one little twist want to stick out that way, but I'm gonna pop these little twists out, and it's gonna be really cute. I'm gonna post some pictures later. But yeah, I just wanted to say I'm gonna be coming to you with some videos and some things that are going on that I'm working on, because I know that my life has purpose. Um, and I know that there is a plan for me because God has spared me from so many things. Life hasn't been easy. No one's life is easy. Okay? We all go through things. But I've had some close calls. And finding those polyps, discovering IBS, which makes so much sense. Like when you read the side effects, I don't know if anybody's interested, it would explain me a lot. Why I don't go places, why I often shut myself in. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to go hang with people and do things, and you feel uncomfortable all the time. So it just explains a whole lot. Um, and like I said, finding the polyps, you know, my doctor said I couldn't have waited 3 years, let alone the recommended 10 years. This would have been a whole different thing. But I had a husband who saw me sick and said, "You got to get this done." But I had to be in a place where I believed it and was ready for it. And I'm cheap. Can I talk to y'all about how cheap I am? I am cheap. When the people told me you have a we're gonna cover you, your insurance is gonna cover it 100%, but you have a deductible that hasn't been met of $500, and so your balance is where you're gonna owe is $180. I was like, oh well, we had just got paid. I swear, I said, oh well, we're gonna have to reschedule that, because I'm not spending no $180. That wasn't in my plans. My husband, being who he is and who his mother raised him to be, thank God for her. Thank God for her strength and her, yeah, her strength to raise four of them, and they're awesome men. My God, that's just she probably is a video within herself too. So, but yeah, he was like, "We got this. You need it. We getting it. It's going." And look at look what happened. I told my husband the other day. I said, "God did that. That's so intentional. It's so His plan for me. My God." I moved here not thinking I'd find a husband. I just wanted to find Keisha. If anybody knows, my email is back to Keisha. That's all I wanted. Swear to God, that's all I wanted was back to me. And I discovered life, a life worth living, a life worth fighting for. Um, I have a wonderful church home at Rhema Ministries, Rhema Win Ministries. You talk about family, uh, so good, so good. And I knew that after the second time I went. I think second time I went, it was a Christmas program. But anyway, that's another video too. Anyway, like I said, I have a bunch. Um, this one is about being intentional, being an advocate for yourself, and just acknowledging the fact that the things that happen in your mind manifest in your body. That's why it's so important that you take a time out to meditate and let go of those unhealthy thoughts before they take seed and plant root inside of you. But I'm here to tell you that even if they do, we serve such an awesome God that the weapons may form, but if you believe in Him and are obedient to His word, I didn't hear an audible sound saying go to the doctor or fight for yourself. I heard my husband being obedient to who he is in my life say go and get this done, and my life expectancy is extended because of it. There's a reason for all things. And there are weapons, and there are things, and there are wars. There's stuff going on around us that we are not aware of. But if you allow yourself moments to be still and listen, you'll be able to hear your strategy. I hope that this blesses somebody. Lord knows it is blessing me. Thank you.